Hey, I'm excited to talk to you guys today. We are going to be covering all kinds of topics going forward. But as I made my 5 pages of notes of literally not just notes, but topics of things to talk on, the only thing I could keep coming back to is we have to start with mindset. There is like such a huge piece in having the right foundation to starting this journey. And I hate the word journey. It's so cheesy, but I don't know another word that really kind of fits it better, as cheesy as it sounds. But this is a journey, right? Because it's a battle, up and down, up and down. It is a mindset battle constantly. You versus you. It's you that tells yourself my results aren't fast enough. It's you that tells yourself I'm not, still not skinny enough. It's you that tells yourself I need to get on this scale. It's you that tells yourself I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not as skinny as that girl, or my results aren't as fast as her. Like, we tank ourselves. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I wanted to start my account a couple years ago. Is it was heartbreaking to me, because I was coaching and training in gyms now, to hear so many clients that hated themselves, or didn't feel that they were worthy, or just didn't love themselves, that wouldn't get undressed in the light because they hated seeing what their body looked like and they didn't want their husband to see that. And oh, it's gonna make me emotional now. I don't want you guys to feel like that, right? You can be the healthiest, strongest version of you, and that's what you got to own. And you've got to learn to love your body and all the amazing things that it does. And yeah, this can all sound cheesy to you, but honestly, it's the truth, right? And so I am here as a coach to provide you with tools and the necessary resources and education to help you get to where you want to be, right? To where your goals are, to the healthier, stronger, fitter version of you. I feel so good now. And it has nothing to do with my biceps or core or anything else. I feel better. And I'll share my story a little bit of my why and why I'm healthier and happier now, why I stick with it. And I want to help you guys find your version of your why that will help you stay consistent. We don't want any more yo-yo dieting. We don't want any more starting and stopping. It's all verbiage, right? We don't want to start and stop. We just want to do the best we can, knowing that there's weeks that are going to suck, there's days that are going to suck. But I want you guys to have a strong enough basis and a reason for doing what you're doing that you stick with it. So mindset is everything. It is a mental battle game. That's like the best word I can describe. It is a mindset battle, you versus you. So I'm on the side of continuing to tell you to not give up, just do the best you can every day. Small little changes, right? So why? I want you to think right now of what's your why for exercising, what's your why for trying to eat healthier, wherever you are. If you're like super committed to your plan or just partially committed or just starting, you have to have a why, right? Most of the time, that why that I get back is I want to be a certain number on a scale. I want to lose weight. I want to weigh this number. Because I'll always ask, hey, what's your goal body weight, right? The only reason I ever ask that question is I need it to know to set your protein grams, right? We only do protein grams based on your lean body mass. We don't need it for body fat. So the only reason I want to know that, and it's amazing to me, is they'll say, yep, it's this number and I want to weigh that number. And so I'll then say, can I ask why? And most of the time, nobody has any idea. They'll just say, well, I just think that I'll feel better at that, or I'll look better at that, or I did used to weigh that and I know that I felt better and looked good then. And then I'll kind of ask, and we're gonna get raw and real here, right? So hopefully this doesn't offend anybody. I don't have a filter, and I want you guys to know that I'm saying this in love, but to fix this and to really dig deep, peel the onion layers back, right? This is like my disclaimer. You have to dig deeper. So hopefully this is taken in a place of love. But the truth, right? The truth bombs are, I want to get back to 130 pounds. Okay, so let me ask you, 4 years ago when you weighed 130, did you love yourself then? No, I wanted to weigh 125 pounds. Okay, so if you lost the weight and then you were at 125, 4 years before that, did you love yourself then? No, I wished I would have weighed 120. Do you see what I'm saying? I did this. This was me. So I only speak from experience, and enough clients tell me they have the same experience. When we attach a number to the scale, and that is our why, I have not had too much personal interaction with that being successful. I want you to be happy. I want you to look in the mirror and own it and be like, yep, this is as good as I've got it, but I'm excited because I've got more goals. I'll get healthier. I'll get stronger. Not, when am I going to weigh that number on the scale? We have to learn to separate ourselves and our worth from how much your femur and your gallbladder and your eyeball and your ears weigh. That's literally all the scale says. And then of course there's some body fat mixed in, and there's some muscles, and it all changes how big your hair is. I mean, it just depends. There's so many determining factors to that. It should not determine your worth. And here's the other reality piece, because I had to experience this myself, is Dude, you can't get to the same weight and feel or look the same that you were a year ago. It just doesn't happen. You're not 29 anymore. You're 30. You're not 52 anymore. You're 54. And we lose muscle mass so fast every year. Our energy levels are different. Our metabolism changes yearly. So what you were at that weight and at that age is gone. So we don't care about that number then. We just need to find whatever your strongest, healthiest version is now. And I don't know what that's going to weigh. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what that's going to feel like, but it's going to be amazing because that's your journey, right? Of figuring out where that is. So please spend some reflection time. Write it down in a journal if you need to. Talk about it with somebody. But we've got to figure out a why that is greater than the scale, right? Here's one last example regarding the scale is I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like I ate healthier yesterday. I stuck a little more to my plan. I'm not as bloated. I'm feeling better. Like this is good. And then you get on the scale because you're like, yeah, I think I'm down a pound or two. That bloating is gone. This is what I get, the scenario I get from everybody. And you're on the scale and it's like, I went up a pound. And then all of a sudden you're pissed. 3 seconds earlier, you were feeling so good about how you felt and looked. And then all of a sudden, because some electronic device tells you your body mass is a little bit up, you're derailed, and then you're ticked all day, and then you want to quit your plan. And then we go backwards in reverse, right? Instead of making healthier choices and at least progressing forward, we stop and we overeat or we do things to make ourselves feel better because it's like, oh, it's never going to change. You cannot have a tool that makes you feel like crap. So hide it, get rid of it, sell it, only check it once a month. I mean, anything that you need to, please find a why that is greater than something that makes you feel like crap. Now, a lot of people have healthy relationships with it, and that's fantastic. I use it now just as a tool to monitor my bloating, depending on what I'm eating, right? And I'm not on it every day. It can be a good tool when used correctly, not if you're feeling crappier when you get off of it. And if you're willing to overlook your body measurements and your progress pictures and the comments of other people telling you and your strength gains going up and your worth and energy levels, if you overlook all of those significant changes and just focus on the fact that the scale has either gone up or hasn't changed, get it out of your life, right? That you do not want someone in your corner, any deep recesses of your brain bringing you down and making you feel like all the time and work you're putting in isn't worth it. So that kind of covers my spiel on the scale, and we'll go way more into that, and I'll give you helpful cues and tips, and I mean, we'll go into how we can get a healthy relationship with it on another hour. But this one I want to focus on, okay, so if that's not my reason, my why, what is my why? Because I promise you the scale is not going to be something that keeps you going forward every single day. You know, when you're at 4 a.m, waking up to go to the gym before work because you work all day and you come home to kids and husband works out of town, it's not going to be the scale that gets you up. You've got to find, for the most of us, right? You've got to find a big enough why to do the things that are hard, to get you out of your comfort zone and to help you be consistent. So you want to know my why? I tried numerous times to change, and it was always about the scale, 100% of the time. Well, I want to weigh what I did before I had kids. That was funny. That's never going to happen. No part of me is the same. I've had 4 children. No part of me is going to be the same. I have more skin now. Like nothing is the same. I don't know why I always thought that, but I did. So finally, when I realized doing the same thing over and over and over again and failing every time, I had to do something different. So I focused on a greater why. So this is what finally made me choose to start eating differently. I only started with food. I didn't even start with exercise. I knew that I had to change something in my life because I was so snappy, irritable, ornery with my kids. And those are polite words. I wasn't mean. I mean, I was never that way, but I wasn't great. I had the worst mom guilt at the end of the night. It's like you're fixing dinner. So as your husband's walking in, it's pandemonium. You're trying to do schoolwork and homework and and I hate fixing dinner anyways. And just clutter everywhere. It's the craziest part of night, right? With 4 kids. And I got so snappy and I would yell and I wasn't present and I hated it, but I didn't know what to change. So this went on and my husband would, pull me aside and be like, what can I do to help? Like, you don't seem happy. What's going on? And it's just stress. It's just life. It's just kids. I just am not patient. And so the final straw was I'm upstairs brushing, or my daughter's brushing her teeth. I'm standing next to her. And I mean, she's not that old. This was, let's see, if I started at 37, this was, I don't know, she was maybe 8, 7. And she's brushing them. And this is a side note. I don't like germs in bathrooms. I'm a huge germ phobe. Like we don't sit on toilets. We don't do anything. I don't like touch door handles. It's like, I don't know, it grosses me out sharing bodily things. So even amongst ourselves, sinks are the worst for me. So she drops her toothbrush in the sink. It should not have been a big deal. I, on the other hand, snap immediately. What did you do? Like, now I have to either get you a new toothbrush or we have to go boil it. And I just want you guys in bed. It's been a long day, blah, blah, blah. And she looks up at me with the hugest, biggest blue eyes. And it was, oh my gosh. And it was like, Mom, I dropped my toothbrush on accident. Like, and a look of like, almost like, not fear, but just that, what is wrong with you? And I realized this is all my kids are gonna remember. This is it. It's that Mom yells and can't control her temper and over stupid things. And I don't want them to remember me that by. Like, that was my why. I realized in that second, I didn't care how hard it was. I didn't even know what to change. Something had to change. So at that point I asked tons of friends, well, what do you do? What did you do? What did you do? Like, I'm not healthy. I didn't even know what a calorie was. I'd never counted calories. I'd never watched what I eat. I ate whatever my kids ate. I had a horrible diet. And I didn't exercise, right? I tried things here or there, nothing. So I didn't know where to start. So I just knew, okay, logically, I eat tons of crap, chips, ice cream, soda, candy when it's out, fruit roll-ups, Cheez-Its, whatever they had out, I ate. I grazed all day long. So I realized I'm gonna cut out sugar. I'm gonna see what that does to me. I have to start somewhere. I didn't know where else to start. I didn't have an exercise plan. My why became, I have to be a better person. That is my why, right? It has nothing to do with physical reasons. Now, it can be a physical reason that you have a why, but mine personally wasn't, because I was fighting for myself, I was fighting for my kids, and I was fighting for long-term what they're gonna think of me. That is a great enough why to help you stick to your plan. So I didn't touch any of those foods, sugars, crackers, treats, soda, nothing, for 4 months. And it changed everything, because months later, I didn't realize the impact that crap had on my body, processed foods and sugars, I had no idea. But I was in the kitchen one day. I've shared this story a few times. This is into that a couple months. And the same daughter says, Mom, you seem happy. I'm like, yeah, it's been a good day. Like, I didn't notice anything. I put her around the kitchen, opening the fridge or whatever. And she says, no, Mom, you seem happy. And she said, you don't yell anymore. And that was like, made everything work. Like everything was worth it. All the times I'd have to sit at family parties and not partake, right? Because for me, it was an all or nothing. I knew to break these habits, I couldn't have anything. And that's not what I preach now, but for me, that worked. I just had to cut myself from everything to prove that I could do something that's hard. And then after 4 months, I was like, hey, I overcame this huge habit I have and need for sugar. I had a dependence on it. I munched, I grazed. They were terrible, terrible habits. But I proved to myself that I could cut all of it out because I don't need it. And it took me that long to kind of overcome that. That was the best I knew how to do at that time. I didn't know where to start. It worked. It changed everything. So when she said that, and I was like, I hadn't really noticed, but I don't get mad and smack the counter to tell you guys all to stop fighting and need to leave the room for a timeout myself. And like, I didn't do that anymore. And it was huge. So from that point forward, I was like, this is amazing. I've got to learn more. That was my why. That is still my why. I haven't really changed. I mean, now there's like more physical goals and things that I want to get stronger. I mean, it's changed the things I enjoy doing, but my why is still the same. I still want to be a mom and a friend and a wife and a person that is in control of my emotions, my food, my irritability. Like I can control all that. And so much of it came from food and lack of exercise. So you start these plans, I promise you will see changes with your temperament and your personality. You just have to trust the process. So find your why, right? It could be anything. Peel back the onion layers. It's not going to be always a number on the scale, right? To conclude that. It can be anything. You just have got to peel back the onion layers. If you say, hey, well, I want to be a certain size. Well, why? Like, why do you feel like you want to be a 6? Well, sometimes the bare bone truth comes down to, I don't like getting undressed in front of my husband and I want to feel comfortable. Or, I mean, you really, like when you peel back the onion layers of not just like, I want to be skinny. Yeah, but tell me, why do you want to be skinny? Is it ultimately you don't like yourself or you don't like how you feel or this? I mean, it always, you think of a better marriage, you're thinking about this. Like there's so many reasons when we really peel back that onion layer of why do you want to be this way or to look this way. So we've got to take a second and peel back all of that, because the reason, finding the ultimate reason, right? Mine was I was embarrassed of my personality. I didn't like how I was as a mom, and that took a lot to admit, but it was worth the change. So peel that back, because then everything else disappeared. It wasn't about the weight. It wasn't about being skinny. It was ultimately, I didn't like myself, and that was enough reason to change. So that isn't everyone's why. I'm just sharing that's what worked for me. Dig deep, super dig deep. So hopefully your initial why is going to be different than when you dig deep why. So it's got to be enough to change. Second, once you come up with your why, come up with a list, pros and cons, right? Pros and cons. If this is my why, or if this is my why, or if this is enough reason to change, if this is enough reason to change, come up with lists of, do you think I can stick with it? Okay, well, if I choose to focus on this, Can I do that? Am I gonna stick with it long enough to make this a lifestyle change? No, that's still kind of superficial. I probably won't stick with that. There's just little things. It could be that you've got a hike coming up and you're afraid you're not gonna be able to keep up with your family and you wanna get better endurance, you wanna get stronger. There could be a wedding, right? And you wanna fit into these dresses, you wanna be able to wear the same dress that they all have. Or, it can be anything. You wanna just go up and down the stairs and chase your kids and not feel like you're out of breath and you can't keep up with them. Something other than how we look. I'm not discounting that. That was still a driving factor for me also. I didn't like when I looked down, I was like, this isn't my body. But it can't be the why that gets you moving, right? It has to be a great enough why to tell me to put down my Doritos and my Dr. Pepper. And it takes a lot to put down my Doritos and Dr. Pepper. So my little daughter's huge blue eyes. That's what flashed through my head. Every time I was like, I need to make a better choice. I need to get up and go to the gym. Her eyes would come up. Find your big blue eyes that will remind you why you are worth it, your children are worth it, the memories of how they'll view you are worth it, right? And then you don't want them to remember, oh yeah, my mom always just wanted to be skinny. What? I don't want my kids to remember that that's all I talked about. I'm worth so much more than that. So your why is gonna be huge. Make a list. You gotta figure out if that why is great enough to stick to your plan. Then you gotta come up with how committed are you? And I mean this seriously, 0 to 10. How committed are you to sticking to your why? Right? We'll talk about making a plan next because there's a whole series on how to make a plan and stay with it. But you got to determine, is this why? Am I committed enough to that plan? Every other time before the big blue eyes showed up, I wasn't committed enough. And that's okay, right? That's why we have baby steps. It's okay to say, you know what? I really only want to reach that goal maybe at a 4 out of 10. That's okay. You will find a time when you're finally like, nope, I'm ready. I really do want to make some changes. But we need to acknowledge, right, with accurate expectations, that if you're expecting to have a 10 transformation mentally, mindset, and physically, you can't only want it at a 4 because you're not going to put in the effort and the consistency to have a number 10 results, putting in effort of a 4. So expectations, mindset are huge. Just acknowledge that and own it. That's okay. I started only by changing, I'm not going to eat sugar and snacks. So I knew that I wouldn't wake up with this, toned, gorgeous, in my head, what I was thinking of body. I was only changing one thing, but I knew that that one thing was a step to getting there. So expectations of knowing it's okay, you're starting slower or smaller, but don't expect a 10 when you're only putting in a 4. And I finally, after so long, realized that. So how committed are you? That you also need to look at, what does that mean? If you are committed, there are things that you're gonna have to sacrifice. Sleep, right? I wake up super early, I promise. We're gonna talk about sleeping and how to get that habit also. But you have to think about literally, I'm saying write down on a piece of paper, how committed are you to seeing change, right? And to this why of the healthier version of you, which is always so important, right? And write them down. Are you willing to buy the necessary equipment for your house instead of going out to Subway for lunch 3 times that week or whatever it is, right? We all have money. We all choose to spend it. You put it on your priorities. And I get bills, things, those are all priorities first. But most of us have some left over, whether we pay for our kids' sports but aren't willing to buy the dumbbells we need for our house, right? We put into the kids' activities for fun, but we don't put into things that would make us a better mom or person. So you just literally have to step back, and I say this honestly, and evaluate, where do I put my money? It goes towards my priorities. Okay, so my health isn't a priority if I'm willing to pay for this over here, than the new dress my daughter had to have, but I'm not willing to pay for some dumbbells. Same thing with, if you don't know what you're doing, I have all the tools, right? I have a program, an exercise program telling you what to do every single day so you don't even have to think about it. And it's literally one family's meal at Subway a month. And so you just have to prioritize, right? And it's just got to be, you may not be at a point where it's not enough of a priority. It wasn't for me for a long time. So 1 to 10, these are things you got to ask yourself. No, I don't want it bad enough to really get a solid plan where I know I'd see better results. And that's okay. You might not be ready for that, and someday you will. Am I, committed enough to wake up in the morning? Am I committed enough to get over my insecurity of going in a gym and not knowing what to do? Because you know that you'll fail here at home because it's just not your personality. There's all those things you have to look at commitment-wise, taking time out of your day, having to find time, right? Does that mean we're not on social media as much? We don't get to read the book we want as much. And sometimes it means going to bed later or being away from family. There really are sacrifices. Not all of us have tons of hours in the time. And that's what I'm so, so proud of you guys. When you do take time away and I have women that say they get up at 3:30 in the morning because it's a priority to them to exercise before they go into work for a long 12-hour nursing shift. And they come home and get all these kids in bed and want to be, present with them. My hat's off constantly to you guys that bust your butts to do the best you can. So every one of us is on a different day. We're all doing the best we can. There's not a right or wrong. Just determine ahead of time, I'm not super committed in waking up in the morning. So if I go 2 times a week, my results won't be at a 10. And that's okay. But don't be down on yourself when you're not at a 10. That's what I'm trying to describe. We all want to be at a 10, so we quit our plan, but we're not putting in the work to be at a 10. So just know I'm putting in it at a 2 because honestly, that is all I can do this week or this month or this year. But then just be happy with the 2 results, right? That's, I think, the biggest mindset gap is wanting something that we're not willing to put the work in for. So just do the best day, the best you can each day, knowing the results are going to match that. And that's okay. That's what I did for years, really years. I had such small baby steps and I was proud of myself for just the small little things. You gotta just be aware of that, right? What are you willing to put into it? The last thing in finding your why. If you've used that why before, you've got to look at, well, why did it fail in the past? So anything we've tried in the past, review. How many times have you started workout plans or paid for different plans or had certain coaches or done it on your own or in a gym or at home? Whatever you've done that you haven't been able to stick with, write out a very honest letter to yourself. Why did I stop, right? There's no failing. We do the best we can every day. You did the best you could then. We use the word fail, and I don't necessarily like that word. You did the best you could, and what your plan didn't work ultimately, or we didn't want it well enough, or your why wasn't strong enough. You just weren't in the right mental headspace, and that's okay, because now we're starting over in a good mental headspace. We're gonna start with little baby steps. You need to write out a plan of on a piece of paper, write why every other plan did not work. So was it the type of cardio you were doing? You just didn't like it, right? Well, why didn't you like it? Well, whatever your reason was, is I couldn't make myself get up and put my shoes on and go. Well, why not? Peel it back. Well, it wasn't a priority to me because I actually hated it, or I felt like I was gonna die, or I felt dumb running in the street, or all kinds of reasons. Work back why that didn't work. So your eating plan, why did that fail? Why couldn't stop snacking? Okay, well, why couldn't you stop snacking? Well, between 3 and 4 was the worst. Okay, well, why was it bad then? Well, I guess it was because that's when I would always get off a work call and I was super stressed with my boss and I felt bad about myself afterwards, so I would just eat and that made me feel better. Okay, so we got to solve that problem, right? Because that problem is going to still keep being there. So work back with every reason, being super honest with yourself of why your plan did not work before. And then figure out a why that's going to be great enough to kind of overcome all those things, right? And then we'll talk about how to make that plan in the future. But I want you thinking of those things. Like if that why is what you had in the past and that failed, you got to choose a different why. And then we'll come up with a game plan that we'll talk about next of how to approach that. So those are all super important. Like we talked about, you've just got to determine how bad you want it. And it's okay that it's at a 1 or 2. You don't have to really, really want it. You may just be like, I just want to make a small little change here. I want to do a little bit here. And that's okay, because that's moving you in the right direction. You don't have to do leaps and bounds. It's just in the right direction. So how bad do you want it? And then what are you willing to do to get there? So the why is going to be huge for helping you get up. This is my last thought, is it's not about motivation. Please don't ever use the word motivated, because having done this for a long time now, week 3 is death week. Everyone is super excited the first week. I bought your bands. I spent a lot of money and got your supplements praying that they'll work, because I get that. I'm on your program, I found a babysitter. I've done all these sacrifices. I'm excited because I'm gonna see these changes. And then they are. And then week 2, similar. Week 3, for so many of us. And that's how I was, because you realize this sucks. It's really not fun. Like I'm sweaty and I'm hot and I'm still sore and I gotta do this again. And I don't see the results I want. I honestly thought I'd have a bicep by now. And my kids don't like the babysitter. And I hate getting up in the morning. And I wanna see results faster, right? Tell me if you've had any of those thoughts. The scale still hasn't changed. My favorite little story, and I can say this because it's a family member who I adore, but she was asking for help, and I said, okay, just go walk on your treadmill, just steps. That's all the thing I want you to change. Don't change anything in your life other than you're gonna walk for 30 minutes every single night. She's like, I can do that. She's this older gal that lives by herself, and so she calls me after so mad at me, so mad at me. Jessica, you said I would lose weight if I got on the treadmill, and I weighed myself before, I walked for 30 minutes, I weighed myself after. It didn't change, and she was dead serious. And I was like, for one, I never said you'd lose weight after 30 minutes, and we laughed and joked about it, and it was so cute afterwards. But that afterwards, I've never forgotten that, because it's not 30 minutes, but we think and have the expectation that change is going to happen really fast. And so when you're sacrificing a lot and you don't see it, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. So realistic expectations is a big deal. And I want you guys to feel proud of what you're doing. It's all about gaining confidence, 100% about gaining confidence. And I need you guys to feel confident, and that's what's gonna make you stick with all this. So we're gonna have expectations that things are gonna be good. You're not gonna be motivated, right? By week 3, motivation is gone. And now it's just like, this is it. Like, this isn't really as fun as I thought it would be. And I snapped my resistance band, and all the little things that were shiny and new, aren't shiny and new anymore, and you're just left with lifestyle. So we've got to find the reason why to get you moving, because motivation isn't always there. I'm not motivated a lot of times, but I have a great enough why, and I've stuck to my plan enough and being consistent, because you've got to practice being consistent, that you just do it and you don't really think about it. And hopefully you'll enjoy some of it, or at least you'll enjoy the feeling you feel afterwards when you're finished, because you've crushed it and you should be proud of yourself. And if they're baby steps and increments that you can handle, it really isn't that overwhelming. Because you are just doing the best you can. And now you've got a coach, and you've got all these women in here that are here to support you. So I hope this is helpful. Consider this my little podcast or TED Talk. I'm excited to get to know you guys. I want you to share, right? You're going to get to know me. I want to get to know you guys. So drop a comment. What are your thoughts on why? Have you had experiences? Because I want people to read your other comments and be able to say, hey, that's my story. Oh, if she can do it, I can do it. Oh, I focused on that too. And some of you might be motivated by the scale, right? We're all different. I'm not discounting any of that. 99% of the people I work with now, after years and hundreds of people, I'm just relaying a lot of things that I felt and that I've seen with others. So this is just, hopefully you guys can share your stories, and if it's not mine, someone else relate to yours. So share if you used to have a why, and maybe after this discussion, maybe your why is different. Your homework is coming up with the why, the pieces of paper, the pros and cons, what failed last time, and find the why. That's it. And the next time we're going to talk about coming up with the game plan built off of that why. So I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say.